So have you ever wondered what non-chill filtered means when you see it on a label, such as we've got here with this Filey Bay in the orange section here, non-chill filtered, or on the back of this Glen Murray that I've got, non-chill filtered, just below the purple band there. But what is chill filtration, and why is it done, and how do they do it? That's what we're going to talk about. So what it is a process to remove undesirable elements, or what some people see as undesirable elements, from a whiskey prior to it being bottled. So why do people do this? It's essentially a cosmetic fix, and this is to remove naturally occurring fatty acids, esters and proteins that are sort of developed during the distillation process. And obviously the whiskey sits in the cask, and these sit there as well as the whiskey matures. And it's a problem in whiskies that are under 46%, because these fatty acids, esters and proteins, they come out of solution when the whiskey is diluted, so the alcohol strength is lowered, or it's in a cold temperature, so maybe a cold day, or if you add some ice or something to the whiskey, it will make it go cloudy or hazy. So this is seen as undesirable by some consumers, and in some markets, essentially think something's wrong with the whiskey. But it's actually quite a natural process. But of course some brands, they want their consumers to be happy, so they do the chill filtration process. And above 46%, it's not ABV, alcohol by volume, it's not a problem, because that level of alcohol or higher prevents this cloudiness or haziness. So, how do they do it? Essentially what happens is they, prior to the bottling, they will have put the cask together for a batch of whiskey, or married a blend together for a blended whiskey, and then they reduce the temperature to reveal these fatty acids and esters. So this brings them out of solution, and it makes it go cloudy and hazy. So this is around 0 degrees centigrade for single malts, and about -4 to -5 degrees centigrade for blends. The reason that blends is a little bit lower is that there's less of these fatty acids and esters in grain whiskey, and of course grain whiskey is used quite heavily in blends. So what happens then, it's then passed through a series of fine mesh sieves under pressure, and then these fatty acids and esters essentially stick to the mesh, and then what comes out at the bottom is a clear whiskey. So also helps to collect other residue and bits and pieces from the cask that might have been in the cask as well, bits of charcoal, bits of oak that might have flaked off, or bits of char, etc., things like that. So the easiest way to show you and to get this sort of clear is I've got a pot of tea here, mint tea actually. I'm just going to give it a quick stir. So if you imagine this is the solution, the whiskey when it's chilled prior to bottling, the tea itself is representing the whiskey, and then the tea leaves are representing the fatty acids and esters that have come out of the solution. So we're just going to now pour it through. I've got a tea strainer here, and this is acting as the series of fine mesh sieves that the whiskey is going to pass through. So let's do it now. And there we have it. So now you end up with your clear whiskey. That's ready to now go off and be bottled. Then in the fine mesh you have your fatty acids and esters collected. There we are. But does it change the whiskey? Does it change the flavour or the taste, you might ask? So, because it's seen as quite a negative by some people, particularly whiskey connoisseurs, you might frown upon it a little bit, this whole process. Essentially you're removing something that's natural, and a lot of people do like, the most natural type of products. be it whiskey or other things. But does it affect the taste? That's a big question. Some say yes, some say no. It's quite a contentious issue actually. But of course it's difficult because nobody actually produces the same whiskey, chill filtered or not chill filtered. So it's hard to have them side by side actually. But to us it doesn't really change the aroma and the flavour of the whiskey. But what it does change is the sort of mouthfeel. You do lose a little bit of a sort of creaminess or viscosity, it seems, when you do have a whiskey that's chill filtered. So there we are, that's chill filtration and what it means in a nutshell, and thank you very much.